Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Each year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to festival custom. After they had completed its days, as they were returning, the boy Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Thinking that he was in the caravan, they journeyed for a day and looked for him among their relatives and acquaintances, but not finding him, they returned to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astounded at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." And he said to them, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. He went down with them and came to Nazareth, and was obedient to them. And his mother kept all these things in her heart. And Jesus advanced in wisdom and age and favor before God and man. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
This is the 7th day of Christmas Day. You know, we Christians, we got it right. It takes us 8 full days to celebrate this holiday. So if you haven't sent those Christmas cards out, you get one more day to get in right under the wire, okay? Now, but this is Holy Family Day. So let's just jump right into this. Did you not know I must be in my Father's house? That's kind of strange, isn't it? Today we hear Jesus literally redefining his earthly family. So perhaps we too must grow in our understanding of just what is family. And let me illustrate with this story. You might even know it. It's been making the rounds on the computer, at least that's where I got it too. And it's told by a wife and a mother. And it's a story about her husband, and his name is Mike. And so let me speak this story in her words. She says this: "It's just a small white envelope stuck among the branches of our Christmas tree. No name, no identification, no inscription. It has peeked through the branches of our tree for the past 10 years or so. It all began because my husband Mike hated Christmas. Oh, not the true meaning of Christmas, but the commercial aspects of it. The overspending, the frantic running around at the last minute to buy those gifts. You know, that ugly tie you get for Uncle Joe, and who knows what Mom's going to get this year. Who knows, a machine for the kitchen that's going to get put away forever. Those gifts, they're given in desperation because you couldn't think of anything else to give. Well, knowing that he felt that way, I decided one year to bypass the usual gifts. I reached for something special just for Mike. The inspiration came in a most unusual way. Our son Kevin, who was 12 that year, was wrestling at the junior level of his school. And shortly before Christmas, there was a non-league match against a team sponsored by an inner-city church. And these youngsters, dressed in sneakers so ragged that the shoestrings seemed to be the only thing holding them together, presented a very sharp contrast to our boys who looked very spiffy in their blue and gold uniforms and sparkly new wrestling shoes. Well, as the match began, I was alarmed to see that the other team was wrestling without headgear, a kind of light helmet designed to protect a wrestler's ears. It was a luxury that this ragtag team obviously could not afford. Well, we ended up walloping them really well. We took every class, and as each boy got up from the mat, he swaggered around in his tatters with false bravado, a kind of street pride that could not acknowledge defeat. And my husband Mike sat beside me and shook his head very sadly and said this, I wish just one of them could have won. They have a lot of potential, but losing like this, it could take the heart right out of it. For you see, Mike loved kids, all kids, and he knew them, having coached Little League football, baseball, and lacrosse. And that's when the idea for his present came to me. That afternoon, I went to the local sporting goods store and bought an assortment of wrestling headgear and shoes and sent them anonymously to that inner city church. On Christmas Eve, I placed the envelope on the tree with a note inside that told Mike what I had done and that this was his gift from me. Well, his smile was the brightest thing about Christmas that year and in succeeding years. For each Christmas, I followed that tradition. One year, sending a group of mentally handicapped youngsters to a hockey game. Another year, a check to a pair of elderly brothers whose home had burned down just the week before Christmas. And on and on and on. The envelope became the highlight of our Christmas. It was always the very last thing opened on Christmas morning. And our children, they ignored their new toys and stood there with wide-eyed anticipation as their dad took the envelope from the tree and slowly opened it to reveal its contents for that year. Well, as the children grew, the toys gave way to more practical presents. But the envelope, that envelope never lost its allure. And the story, it does not end here. For you see, we lost Mike last year due to cancer. And so when Christmas rolled around, I was still so wrapped up in grief that I barely got that tree up. But Christmas Eve found me still placing an envelope on the tree. And in the morning, it was joined by 3 more envelopes. For each of our children, unbeknownst to the others, had placed an envelope on the tree for their dad. Well, the tradition has grown, and someday it will expand even further to our grandchildren, standing around that tree in wide-eyed anticipation, watching to see what's contained in the envelope still. My spirit, the spirit of Christmas, will always be with us. Now, you're sitting out there right now, aren't you, asking, he's telling us a Christmas story? You're right, I just did. Because it's still Christmas. Because you see something very important happen to that family. Mike's wife and his family, through the compassion of his eyes, saw that family is not limited to our blood relatives. Love like that of Jesus must see everyone as family. Love like that must be in our Father's house. Do you hear the echo? Did you not know that I must be? Did you hear it? I must be in my Father's house. And isn't that house the very world we live in? Isn't it? Remember the gospel. Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem. And trust me, Mary and Joseph are really ticked off. Son, why have you done this to us? That is not a preachy statement. They are angry at him. You know, one of the things that causes most anxiety, at least I think, for a parent or a guardian, is the loss of a child. You know, not knowing where he or she is. What's happened? Are they in danger? That must be tremendously anguishing.